tribute to her. Let me get rid of this signal here. They were going to, are you seeing the full screen, or? I just
No,
want to make sure. Okay. They were going to fly her medallion in honor of her and in mourning of her loss. I heard about that because in my general discussion with BioServe Space Technology and Dr. Louis Stoddek, the director of BioServe, we've been in touch in just general matters throughout. When I heard of Dr. Menchaca's medallion being flown in tribute to her, I asked Louis if he was okay with my trying to talk to folks within NASA to expand the concept. I thought that was a wonderful way of paying tribute to her. I thought there might be a way of paying tribute in a broader spectrum, and he was fine with that idea. So I raised the idea within NASA headquarters. It went up the chain of command and ultimately became known as Flags for Heroes and Families. Not sure if people recall at the time, but it was something that was one of the most poignant payloads that we ever had on the shuttle. STS-108 was launched December 5th, 2001. It was the first shuttle flight after 9/11. And by the way, in terms of the flames coming out of and the smoke coming out of the World Trade Center, the smoke from the World Trade Center was actually, it was that voluminous that it was actually viewed on the International Space Station. So STS-108 was launched December 5th, 2001. We're coming up to the 20th anniversary of that mission, of that launch. The mission itself had been planned long before that date to do a rendezvous with the space station, provide supply to the space station, help deal with routine maintenance, et cetera. So it was already planned to fly on that date, took on added importance and significance when it became time to reflect on what happened in 9/11. So as far as the Flags for Heroes and Families on the left, you have astronaut Mark Kelly and Daniel Tenney, mission specialist, Mark Kelly being the pilot, Daniel Tenney being the mission specialist. They're holding a bag of several American flags that were carried. Move this cursor. A little bit of trouble with that. So any event, there were many small flags carried. Matter of fact, the flags in the shuttle included 6,000 small US flags, one US flag that was recovered from the debris of the World Trade Center, a Marine Corps flag that was retrieved from the Pentagon, and an American flag from the state of Pennsylvania. Also on board was a large New York Fire Department flag, 23 replica New York Police Department flag shields, and 91 New York Police Department patches. On the return from the mission, the shuttle processing took place where these flags went to families of those who were lost on 9/11, precincts that lost first responders that responded courageously and bravely to what occurred on 9/11, and in other respects, by basically honoring and remembering the lives of those we lost. And what we have here as an example is in Shanksville Memorial. You have, let me minimize the screen so I can read it better. So you've got the Shanksville Memorial. I don't know if any of you have been out there, but it's really a very solemn place where the individuals tried to recapture United Flight 93 and force the terrorists to basically plow into the field rather than target either the White House or the Capitol. So as far as commemorative events that took place to honor those that were lost, you've got the Shanksville Memorial on the left. On the right, on the upper part of the photograph, you have from left to right, NASA Associate Administrator for Space Operations, Bill Gerstenmaier, presenting an American flag flown in space to the Flight 93 National Memorial during an event that took place at the US Capitol on November 9th in 2001. Joining him from left to right, Joanne Henley of the National Park Service, Flight 93 holding the flag, Flight 93 family member Ken Nacky, and Pennsylvania Senator Arlen Specter. In the bottom photo, you had Pennsylvania Representative Bill Schuster joining Joanne Henley, Ken Nacky, and Bill Gerstenmaier, and then on the far right, Ken Nacky. So I've been involved in NASA since 1982 and had the great opportunity to see a number of things that went on, met astronauts, and just many really wonderful things to reflect on in my career. But this is one of the ones I take greatest pride in terms of taking an idea that already was going to take place to memorialize an individual's life, Dr. Menchaca, who perished on 9/11, and broaching the idea, having the idea embraced by NASA, and having that idea expanded to become what was known as Flags for Heroes and Families. And we certainly reflected on that in the prior month on 9/11, it being the 20th commemoration of it. And it's just an event and a courage of so many people that we really must not forget. And I'm very proud to say that NASA played an important role in reflecting on and commemorating the lives of the first responders, as well as the lives of so many people that were lost on that day. And I'll be glad to answer any questions. Okay, Jack, that was my presentation.
Great.
John, that was actually very interesting. I was trying to find my mute button here. That was actually very interesting to know that these type of flags are being held by these within not only within NASA, of course, but within the national memorials for each of the sites. Specifically, as they've flown in a shuttle, now they've been in space, and
Right.
that gives a sort of a more of a connection to not only to the sites but to the families, but to the world too. So I think that's a very terrific and a wonderful thing that I'm going to make notice of in my article on flags in space. So I appreciate you doing that.
Glad to, and I'll be able to share with you afterwards. There are other flags that I've got in the article that's going to Bexley in the spring, usually commemorating. The patches were developed for every single shuttle mission, but then there are times like the first time we returned to space after the loss of Challenger, a flag was flown in space to commemorate the return. There was the 25th anniversary of landing on the moon. There was a commemorative flag flown in space. And the thing that was really important was these commemorative flags were given out to all NASA employees. You didn't have to be directly involved in mission operations. Whether you're budget personnel, if you were a NASA employee, you got a commemorative flag, which gave the impression of you're part of the family in general. You don't have to be the ones directly involved with the astronauts to also be part of the space mission. It really gave a sense of inclusion there, which was nice. I'll follow up with you after this to talk further about what's going into that article.
Mine is going to be more about collecting it, how to find it, which flag is being offered is authentic or a reproduction or in some form unknown. So it's more of a collector view rather than a memorial view. But in case your kinds of flags that are somehow found at auction, how do folks recognize it, whether they're authentic or whether someone is just trying to sell something? And I think that distinction is going to be part of the process, part of the way to educate those who are interested in flags flown in space to know what is real and what is not.
Yeah, I want to tag on to that.
Great. I'll let you guys take that offline in your discussion so we can move ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's fine.
Okay. Gus, are you ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think Al had his hand up, Jack.
Who did?
Al did.
I'll send John a separate question in the chat.
Great. Great.
Ready?
That's certainly good. We can, if you have things for individual people, just to chat to them individually rather than to everybody. That's great. Gus is going to be talking about the flags of Hawaii.
I'm trying to get this thing going. Share.
Is Hawaii in South America?
Yes. As a matter of fact, if this is not a joke, the Kingdom of Hawaii was the first country that recognized Argentine independence. Believe it or not. It looks like a joke, but it isn't. All right, hold on. I'm a little bit clumsy about this. I'll try to get the whole thing.
Gus always seems to find a connection to Argentina somehow.
So, well, okay, slideshow, and then start from the beginning. Or maybe the slideshow. Oh, okay. I don't see the start from the beginning right now.
Upper left, Gus.
Upper left. Oh, you know, the screen is there.
That's right.
Hold on, let me see if I can get that. Sorry, guys.
Right underneath where it says file, the upper left corner. Keep going.
Oh, this is a PowerPoint that he's just trying to get started.
Yeah,
He can hit his F5 key, and that will also get things started. And then just hit enter to
I only
scroll.
need one
on.
person to speak. It gets too confusing for me, please. So then it starts from the beginning, upper left. I got it. Thank you. I get a little bit confused. When you're 73, you're not longer. Okay, there you go. It's not about Hawaii, but it's about Mauna Kea. And basically, you know, everyone knows about why Mauna Kea is a very important location because of the clarity of the sky, the purity of the air, and they have, as you know, a bunch of telescopes. And there are actually 13 telescopes owned by a variety of people. This is a beautiful view. I've been there back in the 70s. There were not so many telescopes at that time, but the smaller telescope is the one that for the University of Hilo, and the lens is about 0.8 meters. Then they have a NASA infrared. As you know, telescopes are categorized. They are optical, infrared, and also radio telescope, like the one, unfortunately, no longer the one in Arecibo, which I had the chance to see it too before collapse. And then NASA has an infrared telescope, and Canada and France has another telescope, and UK have an infrared, and then the famous Keck telescopes, which are two of them, and each of them they are managed by Caltech, of course, and each of them have the 10-meter lens. And everything was fine and dandy until by around 2014, international conglomerate decided to have a 30-meter telescope. And that kind of like, especially native Hawaiians decided enough. You know, they're destroying the environment, the pollution, etc., etc. So it started a movement of trying to block this telescope. When you say native, when I'm saying native Hawaiians, and first Patrick Kahanoi, which, as you remember, gave us a wonderful lecture back in Seattle. No, Salt Lake City, I'm sorry. That was what, 2007. It looks like it was yesterday. Anyway, he said to be a native Hawaiian, have to be 50%, you have to prove 50% Hawaiian blood. So kind of difficult, but anyway. So these native Hawaiians, and I'm not making fun of them, started manifesting themselves against the telescope. And that's when the flags of Mauna Kea comes to play. And this is, by the way, is an artistic conception of the plan TMT, as it's called, 30 meters telescope. As you can see, it's an humongous beast, look like from something from a Star Trek or Star Wars type of building. And nevertheless, people are getting very upset. And believe it or not, among the native Hawaiians, there are people that are divided. Scientist community of native Hawaiians mainly, they are a little bit divided about saying, well, we need to be explored, we need to be getting more efficient, and you know, the arguments go back and forth. I'm not going to get into it because it's their problem. Nevertheless, this is our some of the people over there demonstrating again the telescope. I asked Patrick Kahanoi to translate those two words, pohu na nuhua and pohu hulu on something else. Anyway, don't try ever to get directions in Hawaii. If you're driving and you ask where to get someplace, they're going to well, make a left in Kuhiku and make a right in Movatapapoi. And when you go to apostrophe A, that's the 7-Eleven across the street. Something, you know, like that. Anyway, but jokes apart, we are not accustomed to pronounce so many vowels, so it makes us okay. Those two words mean sheltered, and the other ones is nature trail. They try to preserve the mountain itself. And this is another one, as you can see in the previous one, the Hawaiian flag, the state flag is flying upside down for distress, obviously. And what caught my attention was this due to desecration. What is the problem? Leaving alone the environmental issues and nature issues. Well, it goes to Hawaiian mythology, which long ago, when the world was new, Wakia, which is Sky Father, fall in love with the beauty of Papa, which is Earth Mother. And Earth Mother, Papa and Wakia fall in love, and then you know what happened. It's interesting that the old mythological tales always they have a father and a mother, and the Nordic mythology is called Erra. In the Incan mythology is called Pachamama, and so on and so forth. And this, according with the Hawaiian legend or mythology, that's how the world started. And the earth started coming out of the waters and the mountains and the people, and everything was created from that love. How long did it take to create? I don't know, it was 7 days or more, or maybe less. Anyway, okay. So Mauna Kea is a sacred place in Hawaiian culture. It's considered to be the realm of Akua, which means the gods. So Mauna Kea literally means wine mountain, which also is known as Mauna Awakea. And it's also considered the tallest mountain in the world, because unlike many peaks that we, like Everest, Aconcagua in the Andes, in the Rockies, etc., the Himalayas and the Andes and the Rockies were formed by tectonic plates byproduct, right? Tectonic plates colliding with each other. But Mauna Kea is measured from the top of the ocean, because there are volcanoes that have been growing out and getting out of the ocean. So Mauna Kea is about 33,000 feet tall from the bottom of the ocean to the top of the cone. It doesn't have a caldera. It stopped activity about 4,600 years ago. And unlike their other brothers like Mauna Loa and Kilauea, which lately start again making a mess of the people owning the property around there. Anyway, so, but while I was investigating and getting more information on that, I come up with this picture. This lady that you see there is an organizer of this movement. Her name, I love her first name. Her first name is Presley, and her last name is Kea Alauna E Na Hea A Muk Sang. So enough of that. What caught my attention, and you would like to perhaps, you probably already have identified many of those flags. This is nothing governmental organizing on everything. You see that the flags have been displayed in a very random way. No protocol on the position of the flags. And you can see here, if I'm not mistaken, that's the flag of the Cook Islands, which is, as you know, is a dependency of the New Zealand. Last I heard. Then I see the flag of Fiji. And I can see an Egyptian flag. You tell me, someone, yeah. Here looks like a flag of the Philippines, probably. And I look here like something that a flag of Palestine. And as you know, they have been put, randomly without any protocol. And they are mainly from people living in Hawaii, ethnic cultures that, or groups that they want to support the movement. What called most my attention were these 4 flags that you see here. And and Patrick Kahanoe put me in contact with Presley, and I asked her what was the purpose of those flags. And she said, I cannot remember because I was busy doing something else. She's a professor of the Hilo University, University of Hawaii in Hilo, of culture and customs and language. And she said, basically, it represents what they call the Ohana Kapunas. Ohana Kapunas mean the family elders. They are representing each flag, not the blue flag, and I'll go to that a little bit later in a few minutes, as a matter of fact. It represents the people that came from different part of the island to live in Hawaii. And the colors of the flag, which not the picture doesn't distinct them very good, but anyway, are representative of the flower, of the state flower of each island in the state of Hawaii is a county, right? So it will be what we can call a county flag. The red is for the island of Hawaii. The flag is a Lehina call. Then the pink is for the island of Maui, called the Lokelai Rose. And finally, the purple is for the island of Kauai, which is the Mokihala berry. I don't see the purple there, but they told me that is purple. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there without making, I'm not an expert in flowers. But I checked to see if we could get something better. So what is the purple there? And they said, oh no, it is purple. Well, So here's another position, another picture from a different angle of the flags hoisted at the foot of Mauna Kea. And of course, I can see again the flag of Palestine. I don't understand. We are talking about the desecration of territory, Indian territories, native territories. You can see the flag of the Marianas, I think it is here. Oh, you can check on that. I can see Cherokee flag, and other flags are not distinguished very much. But here are the 3 flags of these people, this family, the Ohana Kapunas, and with the different colors. And at the center of the flag, they have the Royal Coat of Arms. And emphasizing that, unlike many people think that these native Hawaiians are trying to get an independence, they actually is a sovereignty movement, not an independence movement. And the top of the flag, the one that looks like a Scandinavian cross, is actually the flag representing the sea, and the cross Christianity. And as you know, once again, as you can see, the flags are hoisted, a little bit, from whatever elements they have, sugar cane, or canes, and they're not pretty good. But I was fascinated by this 4 flags. Unfortunately, once again, I couldn't find more information. And I'm not saying that it's an apathy about, but these people have concentration on some other issues. And unlike us, flags are important. For them, they're really not that important. They look like just they are helping us into our movement. And once again, there are a lot of people who disagree, even Native Hawaiians, that they say there is no evidence that Mauna Kea is a sacred mountain. So I'm not going to get into that. And probably you go to the internet and you might visit many sites that view and air their grievances. And this is just, I get that picture of the Hawaiian Royal Arm, which is a little bit different to the current one. of the state of Hawaii and the seal. Of course, the two supporters, which in Heraldry are called tenants, which are human figures, have a lot of royal, excuse me, royal regalia, the center, etc. The seal, I believe, unless it was changed, the seal of the state of Hawaii today have instead of the alia and the puolea, which are the center on the green escutcheon, they have a green background, but a white star becoming state. And the supporters today are in one side is King Kamehameha or somebody that represents. On the other side is a woman with the Hawaiian flag. And just for your information, I just got on a website the different flowers that identify the different counties of the state of Hawaii, which is quite beautiful. And unfortunately, their county flags are not, and I wonder why. And I think I'm done. Thank you to you guys, and thank you to Patrick Anoi and Presley Keala Nuheha Muksan. Thank you very much. How do I come back to the?
Just go to share screen and just stop sharing.
Okay, let me see if I can find it. Stop sharing. I got it.
Thank you, Gus.
Okay, well, thank you.
So that's obviously, those are some flags that are going to need some more work and some more investigation.
Unfortunately, once again, this actually happened around 2018. As it was prior COVID, of course, and quite prior. And once again, I tried to research. Unfortunately, I couldn't find more than I was given. And unfortunately, with the exception of Patrick Anoi, which put me in contact with this lady Presley, which I love, still love it the first name. I would never thought of that, to put her a girl or a boy, it doesn't matter. Presley is international as a first name. And she was polite, but cool. Okay. So I was not, I was not, didn't give you the opening that sometimes you have. Oh, please let me know if you need anything else. I put you in contact with somebody else. It didn't happen, and I left it there. So thank you anyway. I don't know if you have any questions. I'll try to answer anything that I know about astronomy. I read it before. I'm not an expert of that, but today, even they're going to send a telescope into space, and well, exploration is this it. We knew that Alpha Centauri, we thought there was one star. Now we discovered there a system of binary, Alpha Centauri A and B plus Alpha Centauri Proxima. So we hope that this telescope will let us know more and discover planets and finally find out if we really are alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Gus. Thank you. We're going to have one more presentation, and then we'll do some Vexi bits before the next set of presentations. Chris Madish, you're up next. And I've made you co-host, so if you want to share, you can go right ahead.
Okay, am I up? My audio just went out for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So hello, I'm going to show a video on a few, I guess, flags that underscore moments in history traveling the USA. I'll let the video do most of the talking while I do some narration on top of that. So let me just get some shared screen. To change gears here. Let me see if I can find that magic button. Okay. Share screen, green button, and we do movies TV. Let's see what that looks like. All right, looks good. All right. Presenting the Black Camp Loyalist Heritage Flag at Ellendale, Delaware. During the American Revolution, there is a anti-revolutionary, little, not quite a battle, but in the lower counties of Delaware, they kind of gathered on July 15th. And I went there and created a little flag to underscore that moment in history in Ellendale. There it is. Has the original British flag there. There's the town seal of Ellendale. I even bumped into a native. We had a nice discussion about it, and he was very interested in the flag. He goes, yes, indeed, Ellendale, we were the site of this loyalist kind of area. I'll be making a longer video, of course. This is a snippet. I'm going to stop right here, pause this video. Any guesses what this flag might be? It's at the Eastern Continental Divide of Pennsylvania, where the watersheds are. I'll give you a clue. You'll leave it in the chat if you want. It goes back to 1763, and it's a heritage flag. So this was the point in the 1763 proclamation where King George III declared the barrier of the colonies, more than just the 13 colonies. It also included the border of West Florida and East Florida. And I guess you could say, arguably say, Quebec. And this is the point of the heritage point where Canada, the United States, and I guess the United Kingdom were one. So. The flag, of course, has a border as if to be a fence. It's not an incidental thing. It's more of just a heritage thing.
So Chris, that flag that we're seeing right now, that is what?
It was created by Peter Orinsky, slightly modified, and he basically took the Massachusetts flag. This is the Independence Hall, Massachusetts. I actually created the flag, traveled to the spot, and flew it. Again, these are little snippets of a bunch of videos I will be making that detail it longer. I want to make sure I give credit to Peter J. Orinsky.
Well, that's neat. And then, yeah, it was interesting seeing the flag of Ellendale. Many of us who go to the beach from DC, we pass through Ellendale on Delaware 16.
There's a little, yeah.
Could you tell us about that nifty portable flagpole thing you have? Is that something you
Sure.
made from something else?
Here we are at the Virginia Richmond Capitol. I have the Harriet Tubman variant, I guess that's what I'm calling. In the James River.
Chris, those were pilings for an older bridge or something, or an aqueduct bridge?
In the James
Okay.
River, yeah,
Yeah.
bridges. So I'm right in you'll see Richmond in the background. In the James River, give the flag a the water treatment. I'm gonna stop right here. Let me just, because of time, yeah, this is the James River. One side is Richmond, the other is, maybe you guys know better than I, the geography of that area. Right in the middle of it, underneath the modern walkway bridge pilings. And right across the street is the Museum of the Confederacy.
Okay. I mean, the James it goes through different parts of Richmond. So the area below, they sometimes just refer to as the South Side.
Okay, the South Side.
What stops that flagpole from getting knocked over? I mean, when you have it like out on the street and stuff.
Well, this is a curtain rod with some modifications on a sawed-off tripod, and I have a little weight on it to keep it steady. So it took a few tries until I got the formula right. It's called my transitory flying flag platform. We can get a better shot of it somewhere.
What you can't see, Al, is they actually have Al Roker at the bottom, just holding on to it and bracing it.
It would require that.
We are at the 45th parallel north.
Chris, that looks like the flag. Didn't you took a flag and you flew it at the prime meridian? Is that the same flag?
No, this is different. This one is for the 45th.
Okay.
Based upon the same idea, just slightly different. So it says right there. Oh, let's see, get a better picture. Okay, you are halfway between the equator and the North Pole. And I just mentioned the various states that it passes through. So in theory, you could fly it at any of those points, like northern New York, the border of Wyoming and Montana, Michigan, and etc. Goes through Minnesota, and there's a close-up of the flag. It kind of looks like the prime meridian flag. I try to employ the checker design because it's like crossing a line, crossing a race. Whenever you win a race, you cross a line. What do you see? You see a checker flag. So of the few like important latitude, longitude points, I've created bunches of flags. So I've done the prime meridian and the 45 degrees north. Have that. And that's a 45-degree angle. You are halfway between the equator and the North Pole. All right, that's the video. Any questions?
Thank you.
And there was, I had one more, I don't think there's enough time for it, but I just tell you about it. I visited Machias Seal Island. It is kind of like, I would call it, describe it, getting tickets there is a bit of a challenge. I'll just turn the music off here, go real quick. And you have to be lucky to win a prize to visit it. It is run almost like a prison detail because it's debatable territory between Canada and the United States. I'll just zip to the little image here. Let's see what we got here of the island photo here. I don't want to take up too much of your time. So there it is flying on the island and stop right there. And that, again, I had to do this, you know, it's to underscore moments in history. It's a binational kind of gray zone territory. And it is a critical component of the book coming out this summer. All right, I'll just stop it right there. Thank you for your attention, and I want to stop sharing. Oh, I didn't share. Did you want to see that flag, guys? Anyone?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. See, we get the share button of it. Okay, there's Machias. Move on here. So to get to the island, you have to go on this little cutter here, get a little dog. Gold Coast Chart Companies takes you out there. And like I said before, getting tickets is extremely difficult. I was able to get passage because I claimed being a teacher and being educational. And that's the dog, Roxy.
Is the island uninhabited?
No, it's out in the middle of the harbor between Maine and New Brunswick. So you go out in this big boat, and then you'll see trailing is your escort boat because making a landing there is very difficult. Is the captain of the boat. And the main reason people go to this island is the puffin tours. They want to see the puffins. I'm gonna just zip it up here. We're getting ready to take off. There's the Canadian competition. There you go, made a landing. It is definitely a Canadian. They have the upper hand at the moment. And here comes the flag unveiling. It's dedicated to the heritage of both Canada and the United States. I did not fly it necessarily to promote American sovereignty or Canadian, but as a connection point between the two cultures that are so very similar, of course, but yet very different. All right, getting a little bit of showmanship here. I apologize. And there's the lighthouse. Again, that's me. Yes, I was there. All right, I don't want to overplay this, but that's basically it. And thank you again for your attention. And let me cut this off here.
You do have some very fascinating adventures, Chris, I must say.
Yeah.
Yes, he
You
does.
see the full version later in the next month or two. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to ask now, we'll take a break from the presentations and do people have some Vexy bits they'd like to share? Who's got something for sharing? Nobody? No?
After 2 hours, might a 5-minute bathroom break be in order?
Well, I was going to suggest a 10-minute break, but
That would work too.
it's about 6 minutes after 12. Let's come back at 12:15. Okay, good
And
idea.
Jack, I can share something if you need a Vexy bit.
Very good, Daniel. In addition to your presentation.
Well, it's one or the other.
Okay, well, when we come back from our break, we'll have you on.
Okay, super.
Good. Everyone take a nice break. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you for your suggestion, John. It's a good idea. Daniel,
Yeah,
do you have some slides? I can let you share screen if you'd like.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Great.
So I go and I do share screen.
Yes.
Basic, I guess. Are we waiting on me?
Yes, yes,
Oh.
indeed.
All right. I am screen sharing. Can anybody see? Oh, well, hold on. All right, everybody see a bunch of French flags?
Yep.
Okay. All right. What I do is I make flags for miniatures. We got a bunch of guys here who collect miniatures. What I like to do is make flags so that people can buy my flags and use them for their miniatures. So this picture basically shows some of the different sizes of the exact same flag that people have. And what I'm going to do is this whole presentation is just going to be showing different scales of miniatures and the size of flags being used. Okay. A lot of, before I got started, this was sort of what people had to buy to use flags with their miniatures. This shows Napoleonic and American Civil War. And so they would sell you a sheet. There's a ruler at the bottom. These look like they're 5 or 6 millimeter. So you'd have to cut them out and wrap them around your flag standard bearer. And I said, well, that's a pain in the neck. So I'm going to find a better way to do it. So I used adhesive sheets and all the flags would be right next to each other. So when you cut one, you've already half cut the other one. So anyways, this is an example of what people are actually selling in 6 millimeter scale, which is 1/285 or 1/300, something like that. So here's another example. People hand drawing flags. You would cut them out and then you would add them to your miniatures. It seemed like a lot more work to me than necessary. Here's another example from the Civil War. You can see in the bottom right, cut flag from the sheet using an X-Acto knife and a straight edge, bond to all this work, real pain in the neck. And here's some more from the Norman, Saxon, Viking era, and some fantasy flags, hand-painted original designs. I just incorporated these because obviously these guys went through a lot of work to do these. But you buy them and once you cut them, they're gone. Here's some more fantasy flags. Just real simple. Okay, so what I've done is I've said, okay, I'm going to show you guys, you vexillologists like myself, every possible scale you could have for flags. So this one, this is in centimeters. So you go from 2 through 9 centimeters. So you can see this is actually called 2 millimeter scale miniatures. It's basically a blob of lead with a flagpole showing up top. So this is French armies in the Napoleonic War in 2 millimeter. It's the smallest scale that exists. But it's actually kind of cool because you can see these are French armies because the flag is the only thing that really distinguishes these guys from somebody else. So really, really tiny. This is the next scale up, 5 or 6 millimeter. A lot of people do, the commanders are in our circles. Most of the miniatures, if I go backwards, you'll see are rectangles. The commanders or officers are usually round so they can touch the miniature bases. So here's an example of some flag attached to round bases for officers. Here's an example of some flags attached to rectangular bases for officers. All right, so this is getting into what's called the 10 millimeter scale. This is Games Workshop work where the flags are all fantasy. But you can see somebody's taken a lot of time and done a really nice job painting these miniatures as well as the flag bases. So in this case, they have both round bases and rectangular bases. Either one is acceptable. Another close-up of some of the images. So people spend a lot of time painting not only their miniature figures, but also the flags themselves. But it's hard to do when you consider this is only 10 millimeters high. That's less than half an inch for the height of a man. It's pretty small. All right, this is getting a little bit larger, 20 millimeter. This is, somebody's just a really basic paint job. They're just slopping paint on the flag, but you can at least see, oh, these guys are the British, these guys are the American. And of course, the British flag during the Revolutionary War did not look like that, but who's going to complain? French flag from the Napoleonic era, a little bit better. They actually tried to add the gold lettering for the Imperial Guard. And again, now we're getting into slightly bigger scales. This is 28 millimeter, and these are using paper flags where they actually can print the flags, you know, designed in Illustrator or Photoshop and adhere them to the flagpole, like what I advocate.
Let me just break in here, Daniel. When you say 28 millimeters, that's the height of the soldier?
That's the height of the soldier from
Okay.
the bottom of his heel to the top of his head.
Okay.
And some people say it's at eye height, because when they're molding these miniatures in plastic or lead, most of them have a hat, so you can never really see how tall the guy is. And the average height, you know, 28 millimeter, people use 30 millimeter, 28, 25. You can mix and match them to some extent, just be careful. But in this case, the 28 millimeter represents the bottom of his feet to his eyes. Okay, where was I? Okay, so this is, these are flags designed for 40 millimeter figures. I just didn't have a guy carrying a flag yet, so I just wanted to show you the pictures of the flags. These are Britons, which are 54 millimeters tall. So these are the plastic toys that a lot of kids in England got when they were kids. And, you know, they sold them in America too. And I had a quick collection. All right, so here's an example of one of what I sell, six-sided simulations, and I go to miniatures convention. There haven't been any conventions in 16 months, but there's hopefully one in November, and it'll be right near Art, actually. So Art, I expect to see you there. So this is what I sell. So for example, this is the 100 Years War. It's a mixture of French and English flags, and it's on an adhesive sheet paper. So what I say to people, you know, cut out the flag you want, wrap it around your guy, and you'll be good to go. And I basically try to give my customers as many choices as flags as they want, as they could possibly need. Here's 216 different medieval flags. Here's some 30 Years War flags I've designed for the Catholic powers: Holy Roman Empire, Austria, Sweden, Spain, Bavaria, not Sweden. I didn't say Sweden. Holy Roman Empire, Austria, Spain, etc. And again, this is just the bottom half. You can see the difference in scale. So if you're making it in the lower left, if you're making flags for 5 or 6 millimeters, they're basically a millimeter wide. That's wrapped around the flagpole, and they go on up. And the good thing for me is once I make a design, which I'll do in 28, 30 millimeter, on the very top left, I can just scale it down very easily and then sell it to anybody. And that's it. Anybody have any questions?
Tom had a question for you in the chat.
Tom, go ahead. Or sorry, in the chat. Hold on, let me see if I can find
I was
that.
just trying to unmute it. Are these stickers exactly what? How do you manage this?
It's a good question. Okay, so when I first got into this, everybody made them on just a regular sheet of paper. You'd have to actually cut the flags out yourself.
Okay.
What I've decided to do is I sell these on adhesive backed sheets of paper. You just go, so you buy the adhesive and then you just score them with a sharp X-Acto knife, and then you can wrap them around your flag.
So would that be like the press on postage stamps?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's the exact same thing as the press on postage stamp. That's a great example. Thank you.
Okay. All right. That's a lot of work too. And it does give everyone a selection to work from. I think it's great. Wow.
Yeah, the interesting thing is I started doing these for my own personal use for the Napoleonic Wars, and then I started expanding and I did the American Civil War, and then I went backwards, 30 Years War, 100 Years War, a lot of European flags in the 18th century. And the interesting thing is what people ask me for that I can never find. It's like, you got any Chinese flags from the Middle Ages? No, not really. Do you have any Aztec flags? So, the stuff that people want is the stuff I just can't find any images of.
How much does a sheet of those things cost?
I sell each sheet for $10, and it's an Avery full-size sheet of paper.
Wow.
And it's $10. And I actually get these printed by a professional printer, so the color is really bright. I can't do it on my laser printer. I've tried to do it on laser printer, and the color's really dull. So I go to a professional printer. They cost me like $1. I provide the paper, so that's another couple 25 cents. So excluding my labor, it's like $1.50, and then I sell them for $10. And the really cool thing is when people start a new project, they come back and they say, you got flags for, you got flags for the 30 Years War because they bought them for the 100 Years War and they really liked them. So they come back again. So it's very therapeutic.
So is it a regular size sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11?
Yep. It's a standard 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper.
Daniel, do you, I saw you had some Games Workshop miniatures. Do you do anything or get requests for Warhammer 40K?
Yes. Yeah, I do. And the whole problem is GW is very, very particular about their licensing.
Oh.
I've got my own personal designs for my own personal use for both Warhammer 40K, and I did a set of flags for Game of Thrones, which was a blast, dragons and wolves, and it wasn't that hard. But I'm terrified to sell them because if one of these guys' lawyers comes up to me and sees me selling their product, it's just, the game's up. But if you're interested in some Game Workshop stuff, we can talk offline.
So, Daniel, which is the most popular that you sell the most of?
Probably Napoleonic Wars.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of people in this country, they have Civil War stuff. Confederate flags. Lots of other guys sell them. But Napoleonic War flags for companies like Saxony or Bavaria or Portugal or Naples or Kingdom of Two Sicilies, whatever it was called then. They don't have a lot of images for that. So I can find those images and make flags for them.
Okay.
A comment from Art Etchers.
Yeah.
That's the picture I was going to ask for. These are almost artistic in themselves. I buy them just to look at. I must admit, I don't put them on figures. They're too small.
I hear you, and I appreciate that.
I mean, so I enjoy thumbing through his books and stuff like that. He's got some stuff on some really weird wars, and just for the art of the thing, and they're quite authentic. Certainly the medieval stuff and some of the odder periods.
Yeah, the problem, people ask me for flags from the Dark Ages and backwards, and it's really hard to find accurate images. So you're basically conjectural, from before 1400. What color was a Viking flag? What was the shape? What was the design? Nobody really knows because guys are drawing them by hand, and then it gets redrawn by hand, and then it's get redrawn again, and the colors are wrong, and the shapes are wrong.
The period you have here, the Middle Ages, the Agincourt, this is all well documented, and it's beautifully done. I think. And it's art.
Yep.
Gus, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. Dan.
Yes, Gus.
Wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
I love that. I was wondering how did they get the flags? And my question to you, I think you answered part of it already, or perhaps the whole thing. You do the flag by demand.
No, I try to do them in advance. But what I do, I go to enough of these shows over years that if I don't have what people ask for, people ask me for, say, Spanish naval flags from the 1900s. So I don't have those yet. So I'll spend some time and I'll see if I can do some research and find them. And so I'll tell the guy, if you come to the next show, I'll have some Spanish naval flags for you.
My second part of the question is, what are your sources? You try, as you know, because I know you, try to be as much accurate as you could possible can. But what are your sources? Books, I don't know, scrolls?
Mostly books. I do a lot of I try to get as many of the designs from online as I can. There's a lot of great flag websites. There's a lot of military history flag websites. I look at my competitors. I see what sort of flags they're designing. I just redraw it in Illustrator.
Right. Thank you very much. And one more last question.
Yep.
As you are obviously a scholar, it's interesting that it will be interested that you will, the problem with vexillology as a study, as a discipline, is that we work in isolation. We don't tap the full potential of the vexillology community here in the United States, in North America, Latin America, Europe. And it would be interesting if you could, I mean, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but tap other sources and to see whether they can contribute to your data bank.
No, you're right. I would love to get to some other sources. And the funny
But
thing
you
is,
have to go and tap.
I
Listen,
know.
I'm doing this. Is anything that you can provide to me? Like you mentioned, different parts of history, Civil War, American Civil War. Somebody mentioned about the English Civil War, which is amazing. The Peninsular Wars. Forget about Latin America. We are always at the bottom of the books of flags. You know, just a footnote. When they want to represent Latin America, they put Mexico. That's it. That Latin America
I know.
was covered. Anyway, I just wanted to congratulate you, and please.
Yeah, no, you're right. I would love to get more sources, especially for like East Asia. People asking me for Japanese flags, Chinese flags, Korean flags. I don't have any sources for that, and people want them. So I'm always on the lookout for more good sources.
But in SPIAF, we do have a Japanese organization.
I know.
We
And
do have
I need to spend more
we have
time.
an Indian organization. So there is the sources, and that's what vexillology eventually will become a science and not a discipline or a school. Or
So Daniel, what Gus is saying is that you
What
need
you're
to come
doing
to
is
Slovenia
fantastic.
next
Thank
year.
you.
Slovenia next year. Okay.
Yeah.
I might make it to Florida. I'm not sure Slovenia is on my horizon, but you're right. I do.
Yeah.
I
Daniel,
absolutely do.
David Maggi has a question.
Yeah.
He wanted to know if these sheets come with keys identifying the flag.
That's a very, very good question. One out of 20 people I sell to will ask me that very same thing. And I thought about doing it. It's just an added expense and an added time. I mean, I do have what all these flags are. If people ask me and they insist, I will provide what they are, but I just generally don't include it because basically, if I go back to the beginning of my slideshow, these guys didn't include it.
Yeah. Well, I also thought that maybe these people that buy them know what they want and they know what they're looking for, so they don't need
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Absolutely. They definitely know what they want. And a lot of people, for example, in the Civil War, they're asking me for a specific regimental flag from, this flag was from 1862 to 1863, from the Missouri 16th Regiment of Infantry, which only fought at 2 battles. And I'm like, okay, get me a picture of the flag and I can possibly draw it. But if I've never seen it and I can't find an image of it, it's going to be pretty hopeless.
David
But
Wagner,
notice it was 1 out of 20
Yeah.
wanted the information. That shows you how many people are out there who know a hell of a lot about vexillology that is not a part of our group.
Well, that's the thing. For example, if I look at my first 3 slides real quick, this is what the other guys are selling.
Yeah.
All right. So this sheet, they actually say what they are. The King's Colors, 33rd Regiment, 9th Regiment, 3rd Regiment. These guys don't.
But notice this is
These guys
all
don't.
military stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
And heraldry.
So this guy's drawing a bunch of fantasy flags. He's not identifying what they are. I guess it wouldn't really matter. But for example, this is a bunch of Civil War flags, and I know mostly what they are, but they don't identify them on the thing. The thing I found out about people who collect miniatures is they are very meticulous about their research. They want to know what color the lace is of the, the cuffs. They want to know what color the hats are, the collars. Are they wearing a vest? What color the vest? Are the buttons gold or silver? They're very, 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 let's use the word anal about it. They're very meticulous about it. So they know what flag they're looking for.
Daniel, David Wagner has a question about the Hanseatic flags. Do you have flags of the Hanseatic League?
I could probably get some. We're talking about like 1500s, 1600s.
David, what time period?
Or even earlier, 1100s, 1200s.
Yeah, you see, here's my problem is when you get before 1400s, I just don't have any source material at all. I don't have books. I certainly don't have internet images. you know, I can't find, if I can find the images online, then I can draw them. But if I can't find them, I can't.
Yeah. I mean, there may be something from later on too, from the 14 or 1500s. But I've asked the Hanseatic Museum if they have any information. And the only thing they could say is that there was a white over red streamer that would be flying on
Yeah,
the
that's the type of
mast.
stuff I get too.
And that might be a sufficient answer, but I'm just curious.
Yeah.
There are books. I mean, the flag would be a heraldic flag. Okay, it's not going to be anything other than that. And the heraldry of that state is available. It may not be on the internet yet. Someday it'll get there. But if we want to do this offline, Dan and I can talk with you. Start Etchells.
Yeah, Art's got a lot of very superb books that have this stuff, and he's actually loaned me a lot of them. And I've done some research through him, but it's just it's a lot of work and a lot of time. And I like to sell a sheet with at least 24 flags. So getting 24 different flags from the Hanseatic League is going to be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's Dan's challenge. Is he wants lots of these flags.
Right.
And while I might get you 10, 24 is not enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
David, I can get you Art and Dan's email addresses so you guys can continue this discussion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And apparently my email's on the NAVA website now. So, just grab me like that.
But I'll send it directly to you. Guys don't mind sharing, right?
Nope.
No.
All right. Anybody else got anything? Okay, gentlemen.
Look behind me on my video. You'll see why.
Al Cavallari wanted to know if you have these images in vector format.
They are in vector format. They're all done in Illustrator. Yes.
Okay. And Nick wants to know if you considered printing them in poster size to be framed.
No, but I don't see why not. Absolutely, I could, sure.
To ask your printer what they charge for that you would not want to have it on adhesive paper, but on something poster quality.
Nick, what would be the, who would want that?
You got some requests today for those from us.
Okay, on a poster? You guys are just crazy. Okay.
Well, that's why we're here.
I know. All right, I will. The funny thing is I have a guy who's got a color plotter. So I could send a 24 by 36 image of all the flags of like the Civil War and the Napoleonic War. That is a challenge. I will look into that.
Good. Well, thanks very much, Dan. That was
You're welcome, guys. Thank you for your time this afternoon.
Yeah.
That was great fun. Yeah.
I'm doing stop share and then I guess I'm done, right?
Then you're done.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
then-
Well, Daniel, now we can see your grocery list. I think you need to stop sharing some more. No.
What?
Wait, that's my computer. Never mind.
Oh, look,
Okay.
all these big questions, which I didn't see until I turned off the thing. All right, I'm going back on mute, gentlemen.
Bye. Al Cavallari is up next. Al's got a lot of stuff to show us.
So are you looking at Joe Biden?
Yes.
Okay. So to refresh the memory of those who were here, this other time we did something like this, and those who weren't here, so they know what we're talking about, I had brought in a Vexy bit of this image and other versions of this image where you see you should be looking at Joe Biden in front of a hallway full of state flags, are you?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so I was struck by this because in all of the times I've watched presidential addresses or news conferences, I've only ever really seen maybe the American flag, or always the American flag, usually the presidential flag, but I've never seen a whole display of flags that they obviously went out of the way to create for this event. And I just found that so cool. I started wondering, well, have other presidents really used flags in this way? So I brought in a bunch of images, I think going back to the Reagan administration, showing various White House flag displays. And people weighed in on, turns out we didn't all share the same opinion on the quality of this displays. Some people felt they were good displays, some people felt they were bad displays. So I started thinking about that and looking for more, and inspired by Ted's book, Good Flag, Bad Flag, How to Design a Great Flag, I thought, well, good display, bad display. So that's the theme of kind of this little hobby I've developed, except I want to avoid the derogatory connotation of this title. I think there's problems with the title that we've all recognized now, because when you say the flag of Pocatello, Idaho is a bad flag, people in Pocatello think, well, we're good people, we're a good town, why, we're not bad. And that's not really the way we intend this. So there should be a more diplomatic version of expressing this idea about the quality of the display without referring to the quality of the people behind the flags. So I've decided to rename it, I like this display, or this is probably not a good idea for a display. But the idea is good flag, good display, bad display. Now, get a piece of paper and pencil, take a few seconds to try and do that. It'd be more convenient for you because you're going to be voting on a series of about 15 images I'm going to show you. And for purposes of simplicity, I would like to use the Siskel and Ebert method. It's either thumbs up or thumbs down. So you're going to rate each display as you like this display, or it's probably not a good idea for a flag display. When we get done going through the whole list, we're going to go through the whole list without commentary. Then we'll go back through it, and different ones of you who want to weigh in on your reasons for voting a certain way can do so. And at that time, you can also use the Siskel and Ebert method by saying, well, I'll give it a marginal thumbs up or a marginal thumbs down. And I'm going to try and tally the votes using the, oh, wait a minute, if I'm doing that, no, Jack?
Yeah.
Because you can look at the Brady Bunch view of the screen where you can see everybody as
Yes.
a little image.
Yes.
So have each person, give a thumbs up or thumbs down and quickly just add them up. And
We
for those who are
can,
not, for those who are not, what?
I'm going to ask Chris Bedwell if you could do that.
Oh, good.
And I'm
Yeah,
gonna-
I should be able to do it, although I might be doing, my version might be the Men on Film version from In Living Color, where if you like it, it's 3 snaps in a Z formation for good. And if we don't like it, then we just go, hated it, for those who ever watched In Living Color. But go ahead, I have pen and paper ready.
And for those who,
At the bottom of your screen, you should see a button called Reactions. And you can do a thumbs up from that one if you would like. And then
not
I'll show up on
everybody,
the
not
screen and-
everybody may have the same Zoom version, because you don't get every feature on every Zoom version.
Okay, well, we can
But
just
for
raise
those
our
who-
hands.
For those who are not on camera, I think it's a small enough group that they can just put it in the chat or verbally vote.
Okay.
I might need a little technical assistance on this, because maybe it's because Al is sharing his screen. But right now I only can get looks like about 6 people
right.
per
You should be
display.
able-
So I mean,
you
it might take me a minute to tally, but
You should be able to move it over if in that dividing
Or you-
line in the middle, if you
You
have
can,
that.
yeah, you can split it. Well, he can split his screen.
Yeah, you spread your screen out. The other thing is my only reactions available are a thumbs up or clapping.
Yeah, okay.
Well, but you can do it visually, just, you're
We're
on
gonna do
camera,
it
so.
visually.
You
I thought-
probably have access to the menu of thousands of additional ones. You just need to, you may have a ... there. That'll show
Well,
you many
everybody
more
has
on
the-
most machines.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Well, if everybody has a thumbs up, maybe it's a thumbs up or it's not.
I don't see thumbs down, so.
Yeah, so it's either thumbs up or nothing, perhaps is one
I got
way.
thumbs up or clapping.
Yeah, but John's saying you can add more by going to the 3 dots. but
Well,
the-
if we
it's
want, we
over-
could just skip the voting. I thought it
It's-
might have been fun to tally.
It's
you know.
overwhelming.
Yeah, all right, we'll skip the voting.
no, I'm getting there. I have it. I think I have it. It might take me a minute to tally, but other than that,
All right, if you
I
don't
think
mind
I
going
have
through it.
everybody. It looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, about 16 people, maybe 20 people.
20, there should be
Yeah,
20.
yeah. Need to work on my multiplication tables, but go ahead.
Okay,
All right, so I like this display, or this is probably not a good idea for a display. And you won't be I'll tell you what, there are gonna be some images you won't be voting on, they're just for context. Okay, here comes the first one. There you go, there's your first one. Straightforward, White House press conference, press room. Okay.
Oh, we got a thumbs down from Maryland.
Chris, you'll tell me when to move to the next one.
Yeah, I guess just with people, if you could leave your thumb up or thumb down thing for a minute, just because I'm having to count and I guess some people, there's a little bit delay and all that, so.
And you're not trying to.
They also time out automatically.
Oh, okay. All right.
Chris, you're not trying to record the names of the votes, just how many are thumbs up, how many are thumbs down.
Right.
And this is,
And of course, there's always the live thumbs up or thumbs down, kind of thing.
yes,
So that
exactly.
might
And this
help.
is image number 3.
I don't have thumbs down, but I've got an X.
good one.
We're
Chris-
just talking about we're
Chris,
just.
this is image
flags,
number
right?
3. Just for, it's
We're just
positioned
talking
in
about
my,
flags here, not content, right?
yes,
Right.
it's whether it's a good display. Well, no, whether you like the display or you think it's probably not a good idea for a display. Yeah, never mind the content.
Okay.
In fact, I almost brought in the Nazi example of Nuremberg displays, but I didn't know how much we should be showing on a family program like this, but they had fabulous displays, although dubious content.
Yeah.
Nazis are great vexillologists, lousy humanitarians, but great
Well,
vexillologists.
exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, when we get into a controversy later on in this program involving a fire company's flag on fire trucks, somebody started bringing that up.
Yeah, the more autocratic you are, the better displays you have. We wondered why that is.
All right, Chris, do you have the tally for this is image number 3? Are we done?
I don't think I'm seeing a change in the images on my
No.
screen.
There has not been a change yet.
Oh, okay.
And this is just.
3 is the first.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's
Got
the
you.
first
got you.
flag you're voting on, but it's the 3rd image of my program. Just so I
Oh,
can-
okay.
I
That's
can get
where I was
back to it
thrown
later.
off. Okay. Yes, I do. Yeah.
All right, should I go to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay, this is image number 2. It's a recent January 6th. There's the date on C-SPAN Select Committee. Well, that's not the date. They're investigating the riot of January 6th, but it was a recent hearing.
Okay.
You got all the votes?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going on to image number 4. It's a Nancy Pelosi celebrating the signing of a bill.
I would like to abstain.
Well, I guess you can abstain.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, this is image number 6, Obama speaking.
Okay.
Ronald Reagan. This is image number 7. Remember, you're grading aesthetics of the display, whether you think it's appropriate or not, or a good idea or not the politics of the subject. It's image number
Okay.
7, Ronald Reagan. Image number 8, Obama 2008 convention.
They're all of a kind.
Say again?
They're all of a kind.
Or are they? That's what we're gonna, I bet you'll find they're not all of a kind.
Okay.
Number 9, that's the Trump Oval Office makeover.
Yikes.
This came up during our last talk. People were talking about the Trump Oval Office flags.
Does he have the Space Force in there? I can't tell.
No, he doesn't. This might have been prior.
Oh, okay.
I think there was 2017. Yeah, in fact, there's the date, August 2017. I think that is prior then. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Image number 10, Trump Mount Rushmore.
Okay. So I guess in some cases people have, I can see there's a red X. In other cases, there's a green check mark. I'll take X for no and check mark for yes.
Image number 11. Image 11, Biden inaugural. This, I take it back. It wasn't the fireman. It was, I think, this image that drew comparisons to Nazi Nuremberg rallies. Well, I shouldn't be commenting. All right, this is image 12, George Washington Bridge. Courtesy of Dixie Flag Company. I bet they made that flag. They've made it a bunch of times, I know.
It's even hung correctly.
Well, it depends on which way you're driving, I suppose. But yes, from our point of view, it is. This would be,
It specifies north or south, depending on the highway direction.
oh, yes. Well, oh, then this is wrong then, because the highway direction goes east to west.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the Canton's facing north, I think, so that's correct.
I think that's from the New Jersey side.
That's right.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now we get into firematics. There's three separate kind of themes or techniques. So this is you've probably all seen this, large flag hung from ladder trucks on 2 occasions as a firematic funeral. And also they do it on major holidays, Memorial Day around here, they do it.
What image number is this, Al?
This is image number 13.
13, okay.
Firefighter tribute.
All right. Okay, so thumbs, keep your thumbs up or down.
How do you put down the image so it blanks, like, so it doesn't stay where it is? Does anybody know?
I don't know what you mean.
Thumbs
Well,
up or
images-
thumbs down? It times out by itself.
No, they don't all, the others don't. So the
So for
the checks
example,
and the
Oh,
X's.
I've got a green check there, but I want
Right.
to take it away. How do I
So
take it
go
away?
back to
Click it again.
reactions and then check it again
Go back to what?
to reactions.
Just click it again.
Yeah, but it's not going away.
Well, just give me your vote verbally.
Oh, all right, okay. All right, well, I'm gonna vote no.
Okay.
Image 14, fire truck's rear. This was very well, I shouldn't comment. We'll wait to save for the comment.
No, you shouldn't comment. It's bad enough that we can see each other's votes.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah, I
using
just-
the Australian ballot, sorry. Yes, yeah.
I just find everything very repetitive.
Okay,
firefighter truck graphics. This is image 18, but it's not the 18th one you're voting on.
Okay.
But it's firefighter. Fire
I
truck.
thought I was having a senior moment there, Al. Okay, thank you. Okay. Tom, I'm not sure what yours means, but
I thought that was the only thing. No, I'm not gonna go for that one.
okay. Okay. That means OMG. Okay. All right.
Okay, now we get into the large flat flag genre. This is image number 18B Bravo.
18B. Okay, now we're getting into letters.
Bravo,
Oh my God.
yes.
Okay.
I haven't decided, but okay.
That's this, Tom. This is abstain.
There we go.
It depends if we're flag code or not.
Well, that's what you have to judge.
You could be referring to the flag that's on the field or the flag that's on the screen in the background, which is actually of the flag on the field. Right?
Or the ones that are presumably flying on poles that are too small to see.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
This is actually specifically addressed in the flag code.
18C Charlie, another flat flag.
Well,
Technically, it's not the American flag, so.
it's not the American flag, but all right.
Well, that's part of what you have to decide.
But it is a flag display.
Yeah.
While they may seem repetitive, you'll see there's many differences between these, and I bet that'll come out in the opinions that we have of them.
Okay. And I'm going to assume anyone who has the middle finger icon displayed, that would be no.
Where's that one? I want that
Oh,
one.
maybe my screen's dirty. I'm sorry. All right. Okay.
Okay, so that's the last one you're voting on. I am going to show, well, I'm going to show you one more. You can vote on this next one. That's image number 20, hug number 1. You can vote on this one and then the voting's done. And I want to, Chris, that'll give you a moment to tally each one. And then I'm going to go back and ask you just for the results before we talk about them.
Okay.
But I'm going to go through now one little side project I did on this. Let me know when you're done with this.
Okay. Almost.
I'm voting no, but I like the fact that his suit matches the flag.
I'm definitely voting
All right.
for that one.
And someone had an image of a crown on theirs. I wasn't sure, but I think it got changed. Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay, so when
talk
I get
amongst yourselves, I'll be tabulating.
all right, well, I'm going to take you through the next little group. There's no voting involved, but once I saw this image, I remembered, yeah, there was a controversy. He hugged the flag, and all I had remembered was that he had done that, and a lot of people took offense to it. And I didn't remember it being something that happened a lot. I kind of remembered it as being a one-off. But when I started looking at other images, Googling Trump hugging flag, I realized he did it a lot. And of course, once he found out that it annoyed people, he did it, I think, all the more. I think that was part of his way of doing things. And I realized that all of these different Trump flag hugging images are obviously from different venues. Here he is with a Florida flag. There's a different venue altogether. So I realized, wow, this guy was really making a regular trademark of this. Here we are kissing the flag also.
He's going to get some orange on it.
So I started wondering, well, why was it such a brouhaha? There's certainly, maybe there were other politicians who at some point hugged the flag. So I said, well, did Hillary ever hug the flag? So I Googled Hillary hugging flag or Hillary hugs flags, things like that. And all that comes up is Trump, except we do get Trump hugging Hillary. But this shows you, I guess, the impact that Trump hugging the flag made on the internet. If you Google Hillary hugging flag, you get Trump hugging the flag. Here, this is the result of that search. So I said, well, What about Obama? Maybe he hugged the flag at some point. That would seem rather unpresidential of him to do, but maybe he did. What happens? Let's see. So Obama hugging flag. It's still all about Trump.
I've never seen anybody else do it.
So we do, however, get there's Obama hugging the flag, all these Trumpers, Trump images of Trump hugging the flag. We do, however, get, if you look in the lower left, Obama hugging Bush. Obama never hugged the flag, but there is an Obama hugging Bush, just since we're talking about hugs. So what about Bush? Did George Bush ever hug the flag? Let's search it under that term and find out. Nope. Trump still commands the field. And what about Bill Clinton? Here's Bill Clinton hugging flag. It's still Trump hugging flag. So I said, well, what if I Googled presidents hugging flag? And that's all you get. He owns the field. He owns the search results of that term. Trump hugging flag is, I think, a singularity. So here we are back to the beginning. So Chris, can you give me the results of the image number 3?
Yeah, that was a little early, so I just had my note for that was that it was mostly up, mostly approved.
Okay, mostly approved. Okay, so the next one, image number 4.
That was even.
Even, okay. So some people disapproved of it. All right, so now, okay. So you think these images are all repetitive? Now, this is what this is what I'm testing. You said virtually everybody liked this one. They approved of it. There was only one flag. Now, as soon as we add a second flag, we lost half of our approval. So would somebody who disapproved of this one, who did approve of that one, weigh in and explain why?
Yeah, this is the point I was making the last time we started this discussion, was that it's turning out that the US flag is becoming more of a decorative object, more like a potted plant used for decoration than it is for identifying it as the US flag itself. And the more you display it at one time, it reduces its power to influence.
All right, is there anyone else who voted this one down, but voted this one up?
Also, that one has the flag spread out horizontally. And it's something that Livians did a lot when I was living there. And they did it so that you could see the seal in the middle of the flag.
Who did it? Wait, I missed your word. Who did it when you were living there?
The Bolivians.
Oh, Bolivians, okay.
Bolivians, Bolivia.
So
I never thought of it as a great display technique.
Yeah, we had that comment last time too. Some people disapproved of spreaders. So these flags have spreaders. This flag also has a spreader, but they're only spreading out the top of it, probably because it's such a narrow venue there. Can you guys see my cursor?
Yeah.
It looks more natural that way.
Now on that other thing, okay, yeah, they're using the spreaders, but it's not symmetrical. So from an aesthetic standpoint,
it's off a little. Yep, it's not perfect. So suddenly these images aren't so repetitive.
They're both leaning, they're both facing to the right, which I know that's the way to do it, but it just doesn't look symmetrical when they're displayed on either side. So there is a goal of symmetry, but the way the thing is displayed is not symmetrical.
Any other comments on this one? Anyone else rate it down for a different reason? Okay, moving on. So this is what was the results of image number 5?
We're back to the whole potted plant syndrome here.
So what were the results though?
2/3 down.
So you see that we've lost even more audience. So we got 1/3 up, 2/3 down. So this is what I'm testing, and so far it's bearing out. The more flags you add, the less approval the display gets. And this is a 4-flag display. Here's a 6-flag display. This is image number 6. What are the results?
Also 2/3 down.
Okay. Anybody want any comments?
Yeah, this one, it really seemed to dwarf President Obama. I mean, it was sort of like hard to view the person because the flags are so much larger and kind of grab the focus away from that of the president.
It does.
Can I-
With that, it does diminish the ceremony or the occasion when it becomes more of a potted plant again.
Can I just tack on with what Tom's saying with the potted plant thing, which I think is brilliant. I think a lot of times, especially on the left, like when they come in very heavy with like the flag symbolism, I think it ends up having an opposite effect that people feel it's disingenuous.
Yeah.
Can I comment on that?
And it's part of the base. You know, the base is conflicted about how it feels about symbols of American nationalism, but at the same time, he is the president of the United States, and he has to convince everybody, especially people who are reluctant, to take his side on this. And it just feels overdone to me.
Yeah. Do you feel that do you feel that the flags are diminishing the office of president at the same time?
I think too many of them can, but I think with some presidents it works. Like with Reagan, that's like Reagan was like unapologetically like 80s is like the American decade, right? So like, you know, born in the USA and all that other stuff. So I feel like when you see things like that, it just seems to me you cannot both project symbols of nationalism on top of a political ideology that says America is just one of many nations. It is a conflicting vision of nationalism and globalism colliding. And that to me, that's why I have not a problem with this, but why it feels overdone.
Yeah.
Can I hear?
Except I'm going to take prerogative and break in. I need to find out whether people are willing to go beyond 1:30 because we have one more presentation and I don't want to end this discussion. I don't know whether we should just continue or interrupt for John's presentation and come back to this, or just let this keep going and go beyond 1:30.
Or if you guys want, I can, Al can just ask me the flag numbers and I'll give what I have as stats, and we could discuss it later or something.
I was thinking maybe we could finish up this segment and then let John do his presentation, then come back to discuss Al's stuff more because it really needs a lot of discussing.
I'll be quick when I do one.
Okay, thank you. So let's keep going, Al, with the images.
Well,
So the quick thing I wanted to add though too to finish up was that is the height of the flags a problem as opposed to if they were a regular height behind the president, would that make a big difference? And I think it does. I think it's the height of the flags more than the number that is overwhelming not only the president and the office of the president, but the occasion itself.
That's what I'm noticing too. Yeah.
That's what struck me too. It really dwarfed him.
Yeah.
Could I hear, Chris, was this 1/3 up and 2/3 down? This one also?
Which one is this?
Image 6.
It's 2/3 down. Yeah, 1/3 up, 2/3 down.
Can I hear from somebody who is among the 1/3 who rated it a good idea for a display?
Okay, yeah, this is David Maggi. I rated up, but quite frankly, I don't like the size, but I like the multiple flag background. I noticed under either Obama or Bush, I think, they started doing that. Instead of having 2 flags or 1 flag, they'd have a series of flags behind them. And when they had foreign visitors, they'd alternate flags, Argentinian, then American, then Argentinian, American. And I think that was for television, because if you have different angles, you'd either have the flag on screen or off screen. So I think they changed that to show that the American flag is always on screen behind the president, no matter which angle you use. So I think that's what started that versus an ideological thing.
Yeah,
and I think it looks good. I think it's effective.
No, I think you're right, David. I think that's exactly what started it. Was was more of the internet and more of the media that wants more images and more color.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. So there's image number 7. There's Reagan. What's the results, Chris?
3/4 up.
Oh, look at that. 3/4 up. Now, suddenly we've got even more flags than in any of the previous images, but now the results have gone the other way. Now, that's interesting. 1/4 down. So a lot of people who downrated Obama with 6 flags and Pelosi with 4 flags are switching back to a positive rating with this one, which has more flags than any. So can I hear from somebody who switched from a thumbs down to a thumbs up?
Yeah, well, that would be me. So in my case, you look at these look like they're more free flowing. So it
Right.
looks more natural versus the other
More
setting you
natural,
might
yeah.
even regard as kind of contrived or staged.
I think that's right. I did not like the display because there's too many of them, but the fact that they were free flowing, as you say, made it more of a natural display.
So in this
It
case,
made it more of a softer image too. It sort of didn't make it as static and stark. It just seemed to be a gentler depiction of the flag as if it was kind of blowing in the wind.
Putting on the number of flags.
Yeah, and the
You might
scale
have to-
was better. And I agree with John. I think that the sort of the gut reaction is that it seems appropriate for Ronald Reagan to be standing in front of these. It didn't seem so appropriate for, say, Obama.
I agree. I think that's the way it's presented. But the natural approach, I didn't like the display only because there's too many of them, but because it's natural, I can appreciate why folks would like it.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, it's a messy background.
It's-
Distracting.
Yeah.
so that would be a thumbs down, Art?
But I think it's a background that doesn't draw your attention away from the president the way those great big high flags drew your attention away from President Obama.
Yeah, I'm with Jack on that. Yeah.
And actually, if you look at it from left to right, so it kind of stops right around Reagan's head. But if you look, it actually almost looks like a continuous red or white stripe as you follow from left to right.
Yeah.
Just coincidence.
It's
Maybe.
it's much more artistic.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask the people who object to the potted plant syndrome. So it's not just about numbers. If it fits the politician better and it's more natural, but nicer scale, more free flowing, that trumps or that overrides the fact that you as a group tend not to like multiple flags.
I'm not a big multiple flag thing because I really do think it diminishes the reason for it to be there in the first place.
Yeah, I understand. But yet, again, the audience, about half of you switched back and abandoned the objection to the multiple flags. I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm just finding that very interesting. All right, let's go to the next one, number 8.
Before we leave this one, I'd be curious to know how people would have voted if this picture had been composed the same way the picture of Obama was, where you could see the full height of the flags behind him. In this one, the image of the president is much bigger and kind of direct. And I think that's what makes all the difference. It's the image itself, the way it's composed, not the flags.
You do raise a point. Partly what we're doing with this is we're rating a photograph as much as the display itself, that we're not witnessing live. Yeah. So this could be just a better photograph. It is a wonderful photograph, isn't it? The way they flow that way.
I think it's a good point. It did kind of crop the height of it.
Yeah, I think if you had shown those flags the way you showed the flags in the Obama picture, you might have had a different opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay, so this is image number 8, Obama 2008 convention, the so-called Greek temple. What were the results?
That one is it's mostly down. It's about.
Do you have the actual numbers?
80% down.
Do you have the actual numbers of votes?
Well, from what I could get when hands and so forth were disappearing, looked like 5 out of the 7 that I found were down.
I'm someone who was anti-Obama. Well, I mean, the photograph earlier, and I was pro this one. And to me, it did not seem overwhelming.
Yeah, I didn't think it was overwhelming, but I thought it was
the scale.
I thought it was messy.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
The flags all sort of helter skelter.
So Chris, we only really had 7 votes registered then, 5 bad and 2 good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is a little messier. And I looked at that. If you look close, those flags are in multiple stands. Like you've got 3 or 4 flags in one stand and they've got them angled so they don't all conflict with each other. But yeah, it's not as uniform. That's the choice they made. Okay, so going on, anybody else want to add anything here?
No, I saw it as messy too, and I saw it as a last minute, probably as a last minute addition to the thing.
Why don't
What's-
the parties hire protocol people? I mean, truly, I mean, what, they don't have any of these in Washington DC? I mean,
No.
Only the
Once
movie
again, I
Goldie
wonder-
Hawn.
I wonder what people's reactions would have been if it had been a close-up photograph of the president and the flags directly behind him instead of the whole stage.
He's even got two flags to the left too, flanking that screen. It's like they almost thought, well, we have to put flags everywhere. And on the right too, flanking that screen.
I think a close-up, it would still be a bit haphazard. There doesn't seem to be a cohesive pattern. It just comes across jumbled. So even a closer image of it, I don't think would have enhanced it.
Well, here's a question though, if each of these flags, instead of being free flowing, if they were attached to the spreaders and were more uniform, would that change the image?
It would change the image, and some people would downgrade it because of the spreader.
Yeah.
Oval Office, we touched on this last time. What are the numbers, Chris?
Which one is this? What number?
It's number 9.
Number 9 is, it's just about even more down than up though.
What, do you have the numbers?
I had 4 up, 5 down.
Okay. Anybody want to weigh in?
Again, we're talking about it diminishes the office by having so much there. When you have several sets of the same thing, it doesn't provide the same impact that the flag is supposed to have.
Yeah, I agree with that, especially you've got multiple American flags. I kind of liked the idea that he had all 5 of the armed forces there, because those are our folks, you know, those are the people who go out for us. And I like the fact that they're in the room there with him. But to duplicate stuff, he's got how many? It looks like 3 presidential flags, 3
There were
US
4.
flags.
There was
Yeah.
actually 4 in the-
Al, I'm going to have to ask you just to go through the images and get the votes and ask people to hold off on their discussions out of courtesy to John, who's got a.
Okay, so
prepared
number 10,
state,
image
and
number
then we
10,
can-
what are the numbers?
We'll come
Number
back.
10, 7 out of 9 down.
See, it's 7 bad, 2 good, okay?
Yeah.
Number 8, oh no, this is number 11, Biden
Number-
inaugural. How many good?
Number 11, 5 out of 8 up. Good.
So 5 good, 3 bad. Image 12, George Washington Bridge, just tell me how many good?
It looked like this was unanimous. Let me actually count. 1, 2, 3. I think I had 11 up.
11 up, no bad?
No, not, I mean, unless I
Okay.
missed somebody's little emoticon.
Image number 13, firefighter tribute, how many good?
7 out of 11 up.
So 4 bad.
Uh-huh.
Image 14, fire trucks rear, how many good?
9 down, 2 up. So 11 total.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, that's not surprising, okay. Image 18,
Let's see, 5 up, 4 down out of 9.
okay. Image 18, Bravo, large stadium.
6 up, 2 down out of 8 total.
Okay. 18, Charlie. Small.
7 down, 4 up out of 11 total.
See, now that's going to be interesting if we get to talk about it, because it's different content, and we had more bad votes for that one than the previous one. And Trump hug.
Out of 11 total, 9 down, 2 up.
Okay, oh, 2 ups. All right, well, then I'll conclude.
Great. Well, we come back to this because it's something I think that if people want to stay on after 1:30, we can keep talking about, because it's, but we really do need to move on to John's presentation, so that I did promise people we'd be done by 1:30.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Al. I appreciate it. That's a lot of work.
Welcome.
And thank you, Chris.
Yes, thanks, Chris. I forgot about the voting or I thought I'd be able to see the little squares of people myself, but I
It's,
realized I'd be looking at my.
next
Yeah,
time, if
you have to
we,
be fast.
next time, if we want to do this, I can set up a poll and then we can vote on, we can all each individually click.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, okay,
In the meantime, we will say that this information was empirically gathered.
thank you.
Yes.
But that was
Hey,
quite interesting, Al.
John,
Thanks.
John Andrews.
All right, folks. I appreciate that. I always like Al's stuff. I always feel like Al can learn stuff, and I love talking about Donald Trump. So let me share screen here. Am I good to share?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Screen 2. Share. Can you see my Taliban stuff here?
Not yet.
No. Why do I always have a problem with this? Let's see here. Am I screen sharing? Can you see?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, great. Okay, I was worried. All right, so my presentation's on the flag of the Taliban. We'll talk a little bit about why they look the way they do. If any of you were at the historical flag talk, I gave a talk earlier in the year about ISIS flags and why they're black. So this is kind of I'd say almost like a follow-up to it. I would like to really begin by, kind of addressing the elephant in the room. We recently lost a war last month. Suddenly, if you know your Hemingway, he says, how did you go broke? Well, gradually and then all at once, and it's one of these things that I think vexillology is great at addressing, because, we're facing this kind of reality that the fact is how we feel about the war in Afghanistan, how we feel about how it terminated. It doesn't really matter towards us. We're here to study a specific phenomena that happens. And this is, how do new regimes, whether we like them or not, represent themselves as a national polity. So we're going to talk about a little bit of background of Taliban today. We'll talk about the old Afghan vexillology, the newish Taliban vexillology, and then we'll maybe just kind of close out by saying something about the flag. Does it work? Is it successful? So Taliban is a religious and political movement with a military wing, which currently rules Afghanistan. That their rule has been contested really since the 1990s. It ruled most of Afghanistan from 1996 to 2001, before the Americans and coalitions came in. And from 2001 to 2021, the Taliban challenged control of Afghanistan in several ways. During the NATO negotiated withdrawal, which happened in 2021, with a mission expansion to August of 2021, Taliban flooded the country. They easily took over everything and finally took Kabul on the 15th of August, 2021. Taliban controlled the majority of the country by September 1st, 2021, and it adopted its formal battle flag as the Islamic Emirates national symbol. So our Afghan vexillology, we have the two versions of the flag. On here to the right, we have the Taliban flag, and this is the old Afghan national flag. They went through several iterations of Afghan national flags from 2002 to 2021. And these are basically mild reconfigurations of the previous flag. This was the final iteration of it, the flag of the Republic of Afghanistan. It also stays as the government in exile. There are small pockets of resistance in Afghanistan that still fly this flag, which is interesting because even though the Taliban is in full control of the country, even though not full control, but basically full control of the country, coalition assets are gone. There are still people using this flag in forms of protest. Now, the Taliban adopted their flags during the Afghan War, 79 to 89. It is a 70s organization. Its roots are, but we really come to think of Taliban more of a 90s organization. It began as just a solid white flag, a white banner. And then we added our black shahada, which is a statement of Islamic piety in the 1990s as well. So that's Taliban flag, approximately 1997 to present. That is the national flag. It comes in, you know, various shapes and sizes and printing, but is generally recognized as this two-color flag, a white field with the black shahada read from right to left. We'll break that down a little bit. So the color scheme is interesting. Probably the most notable thing about this is that it's the inverse of other Afghan flags. That's what we say. Afghan or ISIS flags or jihadi flags generally are black with white lettering. This is the opposite. This is white with black lettering. So it's one of these things. They do not have an inverse relationship. They seem to have developed along the same times with different symbolism. Generally speaking, black flags have an eschatological function, which has more to do with prophecy and has more to do with folklore associated with Islamic fundamentalism. Whereas the Taliban's white flag has more to do with their religious ideology, not to get too into the weeds with. They subscribe to something called Deobandism, which is like a fundamentalist, revivalist religion, whereas the black flag is more concerned with going back to the 7th century. The Taliban is more interested in importing good things about, seemingly good things about Islamic history into the present and mixing it with ideology that became present in the 19th century. To make a long story short, that's why it's white. It has to do with purity. It has nothing to do with fulfilling a prophecy or anything like that. It doesn't need to be white. It just is. The Shahada is a statement, as I said, a statement of Islamic piety. It's one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It declares 2 things: the monotheism of Islam and the status of Muhammad as the prophet or the Rasul of Islam. It comes back probably the late 7th, early 8th century. It's not an initial thing that happens in Islamic history. It's more or less a statement that develops over time. It's got 2 parts. This monotheism, we'll break down these this here Arabic for you. La, no, deity, but Ilha, right? And Ilahu, or God, right? So that all comes together. The reason why it looks stylistic, that's just a stylistic way of writing that. At its core, it has these script in its first part, monotheism, that just says no God but God, no deity but God. And this is a statement that recognizes Muhammad's status as the prophet of the message of God. Rasul means messenger, not prophet. Prophet and messenger are a little bit different. In Islam, Nabi is a prophet, and they're not as prevalent they're more prevalent than what we would think of as prophets in Christianity in the West, whereas a Rasul is more like what we think of as a prophet. They're kind of opposite. So it's actually more appropriate to say that Muhammad's the messenger of God, not the prophet of God. And this word here, Allah is the God. Great. So closing shots, because I know we all want to get on the road here and go back to talking about Trump hugging flags, which I would love to weigh in on. Does this flag work? White flags are uncommon in vexillology. There are, of course, white flags, but almost predominantly white flags. Does that work? Well, there are monochromatic flags similar to this. Saudi Arabia is a really great example to this. Does it meet standards of simplicity, memorability, symbolism? Is it a good flag, regardless of how we feel about the Taliban? Is this a good and successful flag? For the most part, I believe that it is. However, will the use of the former Afghan flag by armed resistance, rebels, dissenting people in Afghanistan, will it create a rival version of Afghan nationality, of Afghan national identity that is anti-Taliban? Well, the resistance fighters in pockets in the northern part up on the Tajik border, this is the flag they're flying the old Afghan flag. So are we going to see this situation where we have rival versions of Afghanistan meeting on an upcoming civil war that will happen in Afghanistan, reminiscent of the one that happened in the early 1990s? So the least you need to know, the current Afghani flag is the Taliban's former banner in some capacity. It probably developed alongside other fundamentalist flags in the late 20th century, and the former Afghan flag is being flown in resistance to it. And that's my talk. Was I on mute the entire time?
No.
Oh, good. Okay.
Now,
That does
now
happen.
I did bring down, because this was one you didn't display, but there is, a certain kind of basis almost for their flag, because what I have displayed here was an Afghan flag, I think back in the perhaps in the early 90s, maybe just before the Taliban took over. And it basically, from what I understand, because I had an acquaintance who's Kurdish and she translated it for me. And one thing, I think the top part said, praise Allah. And then the bottom one she told me was, there is but one true God and Muhammad is the messenger.
Yeah, that's our shahada. On the top is what's called the takbir. That means Allahu Akbar. That reads as God is the greatest, right? And that was also carried over onto the Afghan national flag. Both of those slogans, the takbir and the shahada, were both on the Afghan national seal. The Afghan national flag was also one of the only flags that has a flag of itself on the flag, which stands to reason that the flag also has a flag of itself on the flag to infinity.
Okay, so may I jump in?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so John, first of all, thank you for the nice presentation. I mean, I'm surprised that you would say it meets the simplicity, it meets standards for vexillology. I mean, we say no writing on a flag. So first of all, is that in Arabic or is that in Dari or what? What's the language that's written in?
It's in classical Arabic. Classical
Okay.
Arabic is the ecumenical language.
Okay, so even if you could read Arabic script, even if you could do that, I mean, we say don't put writing on a flag. I don't see how that's possibly useful as vexillology.
I think the shahada becomes almost like a logo, almost like in the good flag. I think about this a lot, like Colorado's flag, right? Which
Yeah,
is,
but okay, that's a big C.
it's a big C, right?
Right, but we acknowledge that that's sort of an exception, but the C is one symbol, and it's a very memorable symbol. I don't see how you could see that that's a symbol. It's a lot of, as I say, even if you could read Arabic, okay,
Yeah.
I mean, it's my weakness that I don't know any Arabic, but even if you could do that, I mean, I think vexillologically, it's a terrible flag.
Okay, I see your point.
Gus,
It's-
Gus is
it- to me, it feels like one of those things like Saudi Arabia, right? Like Saudi Arabia.
Same
has-
thing.
I mean, it has a big block of.
Right, same thing.
Okay, I see your point.
I have the same criticism. I'm glad that you mentioned Saudi Arabia.
But Saudi Arabia's got a sword on it, right? It still has another symbol.
Well, at least it's got a sword. It's got something.
Yeah.
Even that's a pretty complicated symbol, but no, it's at least got a sword. That's slightly less egregiously bad vexillologically, but I would make the same criticism of
It's
the
got-
Saudi Arabian flag.
It's got
Islamic-
4 out of 5 of good flag, bad flag. So does that give it an 80% rating? I'm just
I
asking.
mean, I don't want to grade it. Max, I mean, is it, wait, Max Stanley M or
Stanley, so, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No, that's
Uh,
right. Everybody gets, I meant to change that. Yeah,
The
that's
problem
okay.
is they're very touchy. My research on Iraq, they're very touchy about removing Islamic slogans off of flags, and it's almost like they're expected to have them on there. And the problem is that Islam has a history of that it's not a good idea. It's not permissible to represent things pictorially. So Islamic flags evolved as these banners where they're kind of
You can use symbols. That's definitely allowable in Islamic ideology. I mean, the Arabs and Islamists are brilliant with symbology.
but I'm saying gradually, when you're trying to represent yourself as like a 8th century organization, they tend to draw on these older versions of representing Islam.
No.
But no, you're absolutely right. Like Star in the Moon, they've got the cedar in Lebanon. I mean, there's a million non-Muslim flags that which represent predominantly Muslim countries.
All kinds of geometry. But anyway, so I've said my piece, but
Yes,
you know,
sir.
nice presentation, but I strongly disagree with your conclusion. With with all respect, I mean.
Thank you for strongly disagreeing with me. I appreciate it.
No,
We've
no,
got
but-
Gus
No,
and then-
I agree. I love disagreement. I
No,
love
no,
it.
We've got Gus
did a
and then
brilliant-
Nick and then
no,
Dave
I just want to
Maggi.
finish. No, John, you did a brilliant job with your presentation. I'm not saying other than.
No. I
Okay,
thank you so
okay.
much.
Okay. Gus, you're next, and then Nick, and then David Maggi.
Thank you, John. I agree with the rest of the people. The presentation is excellent. Two things. I asked a friend who lives near United Nations if the Taliban flag is already there. He told me no, the tricolor,
Wow.
red and yellow and green, I'm sorry, is still there. And that, be careful, it's not because the UN is not recognizing the government, and that's still a little bit in the.
Okay, it's disputable. It's
thank you.
disputed, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The United Nations
Nations
is not
don't-
recognizing the Taliban, yet they recognize the previous government still as having the credentials.
Right, it is there, but, and this is the point that I want to make, John. The United Nations does not change the flag until the official government of that country tells them, this is our new flag. It has happened before. It's not that they're not recognizing the government. They're waiting for an official notification of the whatever government. We know that the Taliban are good to to shoot things on the air, but as organizers, we think that they're not very good. Second, John, I want to tell you about the color white. And there is a legend, a tale about what the Prophet Muhammad chose the white. He was from a tribe whose color was black. But he was banned for his tribe, of his clan, because he was considered a heretic to the previous religion that existed in the Arabic people and tribes, and there's so many of them, but mainly in the Hejaz. And so that's why he chose white. I don't know if that has to do with it, but I have seen Taliban flags with white, black, white, black stripes. So combining both colors of the different tribes. Remember, the Islamic year, started in Medina when he had to flee Mecca because of his persecution to his new creed. And that's the only thing I wanted to add, John. It's not a criticism. It's not it's just to add information that we gather. And we remember in the 1990s that the only flag that flew in the UN was the Northern Alliance, the one that they showed, the green, white, and green, black, I think it is. So we don't know about that. And why is white? I give you this story that I read a lot, that he deprived the black. And also remember that when Afghanistan was a real emirate and it was a monarchy, the color of the flag was black, solid black. Thank you, John.
Nick.
Jack, I was going to ask Gus what flag they're flying at the United Nations, but I think you took care of that.
Okay, good. David Maggi.
First of all, thank you for a very timely presentation, very interesting presentation. I'm just wondering about the effectiveness of this banner or flag in Afghanistan itself, because I think Afghanistan had more national flags than any other country on earth in terms of changes, and very few of them included writing. So I'm wondering if this is popular or not popular in Afghanistan in terms of this as a flag, as a national symbol. And I just don't know the answer to that. But
Yeah,
in terms
there's
of like bad
probably
flag,
no way to know
probably
that.
if it's an effective flag in terms of rallying the people or not.
Many of the flags did have writing, but it was very small in the seal.
Right. It was not, I mean, that was not really the focus of the flag. It was, the images or the colors, but this one, it's just the writing. And I'm just wondering if that isn't effective within that community or that area.
Matt is just bringing a very, very good point in the chat about it has its power because it's the battle flag that broke the Americans, right? So even if you can't read it, right, it is a victor's flag, right? It's the flag that flew over Afghanistan when the last American troops were flying away. And I think that's a very good point, Matt. I don't think they can be hit home hard.
Hi, Dennis.
Nick's got his hand up.
Yeah, there's something that someone just mentioned, made me think of good flag, bad flag. One of the criteria is, can it be drawn by a child from memory? Well, presumably an Arabic child who knows how to write should be able to write the Shahada. So would anyone's handwriting in black on a white cloth be considered a legitimate flag?
I think if you were drawing,
Well, even if you could write Arabic, you would not be able to reproduce that exactly.
That's my point. So is that still a legitimate flag if it does not look exactly like the one in the pictures we've seen?
Look at a child's version of the American flag. They never have 50 stars. You know, they got like 6 of them on there. You know,
I'll counter that by saying more or less the American flag is a good flag vexillologically, but you could argue 50 stars is just too many. So no,
yeah, you just do like
understand.
dots or something.
Right. If you're going to make that as the argument, then that's a good argument. Then I would say, well, frankly, that's not the best flag. That aspect of the American flag is vexillologically not the best flag in the world.
But if a kid draws, you know, I assume kids in France draw pictures of French flags. I'm pretty sure they get that one right. You know.
Well, yeah, right, because that's a nice flag vexillologically. You
Absolutely.
have three big stripes. I mean,
Shahada accurately written in black on white. Would that still be considered the Taliban flag?
I think so.
Well, I don't think so. It wouldn't be reproduced exactly. I'm saying even if you were perfectly fluent in Arabic, and you know, I don't know Arabic, but my understanding is there are some extra designs there that are not really part of the lettering, right? So
they have extra vowels on it that when you write Arabic,
even with the extra vowels, I think that there's some symbols that are not actually part of letters whatsoever.
In there?
Do you speak Arabic, John?
I do. I can read.
Okay.
But
so my understanding is that there are some like little like certain things there that are just there for design that are not really part of the letters. That's
those are all. Those are functional. They're short vowels, and short vowels are not represented in day-to-day Arabic writing, but in formal writing, you would represent all of them. It's a stylistic thing, but if you trace its vowels and consonants, everything that's above it is a short vowel that would not be.
Well, okay. Well, thank you. I mean, I certainly bow to your linguistic knowledge, and
it's very limited. Arabic is very.
But I just don't think that somebody could reproduce that. Well, I don't think you couldn't possibly reproduce that exactly.
There's no way. I mean, somebody does. I assume someone has made that calligraphy and.
Well, yeah, and then you copy it in some way, but you're not doing it from memory.
That's why if you see the ISIS flag, there's no short vowels on it. It's normal everyday handwriting painted on a piece of black cloth.
Well,
and that's why
I don't think writing should be part of a flag. I think good flag, bad flag. We all agree with that. No writing on a flag.
I don't think we're. You know, the world is not governed by good flag, bad flag. You know, those are all good principles in general, but it doesn't mean that any flag that has any of those rules that they don't follow means it's not an effective flag. It's not a flag that people that country don't like and appreciate. You know, it's just a guide for, you know, people that are designing flags, and flags don't have to have the exact dimensions and, you know, be reproduced exactly to be a flag of that country. The fact that some people, you know, write it slightly differently doesn't mean it's not a valid flag, even if a flag maker would say, well, you didn't follow it exactly right. So I don't think we get too, particularly in a revolutionary milieu, you know, no, this is you know, this is a flag, and it's a flag that has rallied some group of the people around it. So it's all well and good to say it's not something that doesn't meet our standards for what a good flag should be. It doesn't matter. It's just interesting to see how it developed, and in my opinion, is it going to be effective? Is it going to be useful for that regime, that government, when it goes forward, or is it going to be sort of something that's not accepted by the people?
And I think it's artistic design enough to separate it from that particular rule too, because it does have an artistic design that any other flag with writing on it probably can't match.
I think there's something else to consider too. And this discussion came up a while ago here in the DC area. There was discussion about adding the words "no taxation without representation" to the DC flag. And of course, that's writing on a flag. But I saw that as an exception because those words, "no taxation without representation," are themselves a well-recognized historic symbol. They hark back to the Revolutionary War. Everybody learned about that in school. They have a meaning that transcends the actual words, if you see what I mean. And you can think of other examples of, I think the "Don't Tread on Me" on the Gadsden flag is another example. Those are words on a flag, but the flag is still very effective, and it's effective because those words themselves are symbolic.
Well, I like
that particular phrase is a symbolic phrase.
I
So,
like the DC flag, but I don't think that the words should be on there.
well, okay, what I'm simply saying is the objection to words on a flag. I agree with what David said. First of all, that good flag, bad flag is not the holy gospel. But aside from that, we have to remember that in particular, words on a flag can be a symbol over and above a set of words. I've just given two examples. Another possible one is the California Republic on the California flag. And as for the objection of, 5-year-old can't draw it, how many 5-year-olds could accurately draw the Maryland flag? Is the Maryland flag a good flag? Yes, I think we all agree it is.
Just to echo that, there was also during the War of 1812, the phrase "free trade and sailors' rights."
Another
which
good
was a
example.
rallying
Yeah.
cry against British impressment, etc.
Right. Right. And again, the words themselves constitute a symbol, a
Right.
meaningful symbol.
Is there anybody else
Well,
who wants to weigh in?
I guess apparently I'm a minority of one, so I'll take that. But I vote thumbs down.
Okay. Guys, I can stay on till 2 o'clock for people who want to stay, and then after that, Tom Carrier can stay on, and he can host the remainder of the meeting, because I know we've had not only had this great discussion about the Taliban flag, but I know people want to get back to Al's images and discussion of flag displays. So thank you all for coming. Anybody who needs to leave, by all means, leave. And then Tom, I'm going to make Tom the host so that when I leave, he could just continue the meeting for as long as is needed.
I'm going to need to sign off
brickwork.
at 2 also. So
Yeah, I need
good
to
seeing
sign
you all.
off.
Yeah.
I need to sign off also. I'm doing some brickwork in the backyard, hopefully getting it in before it rains and
Okay.
next day or so.
I'll sign off too.
Great to
Thank
see
you.
everybody. Thank you for coordinating this, Jack.
Excellent.
And
Yeah, good.
appreciate everybody's time. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Enjoyed meeting with all of you.
Thanks very much. I have to head off too.
See you at the next one.
Okay. Well, there are some people I think would like to continue with Al. Well, Al no, there's Al. Al.
I'll stay if anybody wants to stay.
Love arguing.
Discussing, Nick, discussing.
Yeah. I'm going to get off. Tom is now the host. Tom, you can just end the meeting when it's done.
Bye,
Okay.
Jack. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you, Jack.
much. I'll look forward to getting the minutes from you.
Thank you, Nick. And Jack, thanks very much for hosting us as always.
Yeah, well, I'll get a date sent out relatively soon for a winter meeting.
Very good.
Bye.
We still got a few with us. Al, I think the discussion that we had on the
Chris is raising his hand there.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Oh, he's waving. Okay. Well, so do you want me to go back to the images and you can talk through them?
why don't we do that? Why don't we we ended up with one of the images toward the center. I'd forgotten which one it was now.
I can get, but we're on the Trump Oval Office, actually. Let me.
The Oval Office, that's right, sure.
All right, so I'm going to share. Wait a minute.